He's got the Zoe, he's got the Akali, he's got those massive champions to accelerate it. But now we're seeing the Shy mimic that as well, with the highest damage per minute of top laners at about 630. Speaks to the strengths of Invictus Gaming, and as you said, why they are one of the strongest teams in the league right now, if not the strongest. Of course, as playoffs gets closer and closer, we begin to ask the question, who is the best? Who will actually take the title? Will RNG return to the glory of Spring Split, or will a usurper try to claim it back from them?
That's such a difficult one to talk about, but in the Eastern Conference, we do have the potential for IG, RNG, and EDG to be on the same side of the playoff bracket.
Conference bracket.
So it's going to be absolutely amazing, and only one team of those three is going to be able to make it to the finals. However, bring it back to this matchup.
Rogue Warriors, yeah, they've already locked in their semifinal spot. This is them taking the victory lap and showing, hey, we've got ourselves a new top laner, a new jungler, 2 substitutes for the roster. Do they deserve to play in the playoffs? Well, let's find out. Let's put them up against a team like Snake and see how they compare when you've got players like Mouse and Flawless sitting behind them.
Oh, so this is an interesting hairdo coming out from Snake.
It is hot in Chongqing.
So usually he does let his afro fly, but this time he is holding it back a little bit with the headphones.
They still ban the Rakan, ban the Akali, but do not ban Kled. We still see the Tahm Kench and now the Varus pick away from Snake, as they are prioritizing that bottom lane, but Doinby, he's got a 100% pick rate on that Kled.
It is his pick, basically. His pocket pick. He picks it every time it's open, and I think he's going to do it again. He needs to stand by his product. So that's the way I think about it. I do like what Snake are doing right now. They're picking themselves a very strong bottom lane. They realize that, hey, letting the enemy team take your first tower early and then rotate around the map is probably not the best idea to have. We need to do something to fix that.
And SMLZ, I love it. He wins the matchup of Varus versus Kai'Sa, sees Varus gets picked on the opposite side and says, you know what? I can win that matchup from both sides. And locks in the Kai'Sa to try to go head-to-head against Light. It is the confidence game from him. As Doinby, Rise locked in. Now this could go to Holder.
Yes, that is definitely true.
Doinby, he's laughing and smiling. Let's see if Snake will still respect ban the Kled, just in case.
Oh, that's a tough decision for Snake to make because they don't actually know much about Holder's champion pool. So far, we've only seen Vladimir and Gangplank. So it is pretty much a guessing game. You can't go all in on countering out Doinby. Like, if they early lock a Cassiopeia or Orianna, there's actually a very good chance that the Rise simply switches over to a top lane matchup. So I feel like they're going to have to look for more. Indeed, they're staying away the bans from the mid. They're holding back on banning away mid lane champions. They're just going to go for the...
Perhaps hoping that Rise goes towards mid. And what a world that we live in, where you have to hope Doinby plays Rise in the mid lane so that he doesn't play Kled. Wacky, wacky LPL. Love it. Fiora is banned away from Flandre in that top lane. So we've got the jungle and bottom lane for Snake, whereas Rogue Warriors, they've got themselves the flex on that Rise, the flex on the Camille, and Kai'Sa.
And Rogue Warriors are just throwing the same respect bans into Snake's path again. They know the win condition from Snake is basically win on Flandre, and they're just denying that as hard as possible. Once more, they're going to have a lot of champions that can come into the top side and influence that. If you have a Camille, even if you're in a bad matchup, you have plenty of room to actually overtake it with ganks. Rise is kind of the same thing. Once he's unlocked from the mid lane, he can't help the side lanes out a lot. So they are setting themselves up for a lot of answers. And Snake is really showing that they kind of lack the win conditions to really compete against Rogue Warriors.
It seems almost as if Snake are too busy trying to ask the question, whereas Rogue Warriors already have the answer to the answer. They're already 2 steps ahead. There's the Cassiopeia you were talking about, but we talked about the threat of that Rise, the Kled, though Jarvan is currently being hovered. It was hovered by Holder a little bit earlier. It's a champion that he's played before, and it does get locked in.
So it does look like the Rise will be going into the mid lane, and that will give Guoguo a good matchup with the Cassiopeia into Rise. But I remember one of our interviews with Doinby in Spring Split, and we asked him, why do you always take the Rise into the Cassiopeia? He's actually taken this matchup when the enemy has blind picked the Cassio. And he was like, I just don't feel like this is a counter matchup. Which is goes against conventional wisdom.
It shows his strength on the pick, that he feels that comfortable to be able to take that matchup in the mid lane. Now, Soraka is the final pickup for Rogue Warriors, and Gragas is going to Flandre in the top lane. So once again, we've got ourselves that Trundle jungle. We've got a strong scaling bottom lane, a strong scaling mid lane this time around. Flandre put on more on tank and engage duty with that Gragas.
I do like this red side composition coming out from Snake. It's one of those classic red side, hold the ramp, hold the Baron. If you have Cassiopeia sitting on a ramp, and then you have Varus with the poke behind them, it's incredibly hard to crack that section of the map, and it will allow Snake to scale into the late game. On the other hand, Rogue Warriors, we're actually seeing the Jarvan go towards the jungle. We have been seeing a little bit of resurgence from the Jarvan. I'm personally not a massive fan of it. I understand that you can create a lot of space with the pick in terms of team fights, but it is one of those picks that does fall quite low in their early clears compared to something like Trundle.
Yes, and I must apologize. It was actually the Jarvan going to Kiwi last time, not to Holder. So now he gets the chance to return to that champion. I believe that was also the game in which Holder took Gangplank top and got absolutely huge. Trinity Force Stormrazor is just not a combination that should be allowed, especially on a champion that can Q crit with the parlay. But now we're preparing to load onto the Rift for this game 2. Snake got absolutely shellacked in game 1. Rogue Warriors pick a similarly strong composition, counterpicking the bottom lane with the exact same matchup just to prove that they can. And while we've still got 2 new players in Holder and Kiwi, this team has shown that they are nigh unstoppable once they can get an advantage. Will Snake be able to stop Rogue Warriors' roll before it gets going?
It's a little bit harder for Rogue Warriors to execute on their freight train strategy this time around. If you think about their picks, they still have the hard engage in terms of Camille, but later in the back line...
Camille Rise Jarvan,
yeah, those can still go really hard, super hard in fact. But, you know, Soraka is a bit of a slower pick in that sense, so it's not going to be probably as devastating as the last game, but still incredibly threatening. Now that you mentioned all of their top lane picks.
I mean, even just the combination of Jarvan Soraka, you drop Cataclysm onto Cassiopeia and then put down the Equinox inside of it. And then suddenly Cassiopeia is the equivalent of a fish in a barrel. What is that, a snake in a cage? Snake in a bowl?
I would say snake in a library.
There's a snake in my boot.
That would probably be a movie. Don't give Hollywood any ideas.
It's Toy Story.
Oh, sorry.
That's Woody's dialogue.
Snakes in a plane.
Oh, yeah, well, if they were flying, then things would be a little bit different. Somebody get Samuel L. Jackson in here so that he can shout angrily about getting these snakes off of this plane.
Well, Rogue Warriors are going to take the snakes out of the playoff hype train.
Yeah, I mean...
There's a very good chance of that happening.
Because Snake, they've still got to play against TOP, WE, and EDG. They're expected to take the win against WE. That is their best chance to look for the final win. But they need to collect and maintain their mental presence for TOP, because there is still a chance that they can upset against TOP Sports.
Did you not hear what Flandre said? He said that, 不用说了，这场混就好, which means in Chinese, I didn't read the English translation, but it means I can just lie down. I understand what's going to happen. I've accepted my fate.
That's not what the English translation said at all.
What did it say in English?
It was roughly, we expect this to be like a difficult matchup.
Yeah.
And we know how it should go. Which we've already seen in game 1.
It definitely was a very difficult matchup. If I'm Flandre, I'm still proud of the ban picks. I say, hey, they have to take away my Fiora. They have to take away my Jax.
Yeah, you get the double ban and even the Gnar in the first phase. So triple top lane ban taken away from Flandre. Big respect to the carry of Snake in the top lane. Seems like we are running into some technical delays to get into this matchup. We'll update you as to what those are as soon as we figure it out ourselves. And hopefully we can get this game 2 underway.
I really want to see the Holder versus Flandre in the top lane matchup, because Holder has been an absolute beast in his previous set. His gameplay and his Vladimir. The person they remind me of the most is Flandre. The way he flanks, the way he plays and wins his lane, They are very reminiscent. So these two players have very similar styles, and I want to see if Holder can play up to the caliber of Flandre. Because Flandre, traditionally we do consider him as the second best top laner in terms of the laning phase. At least statistically, he does trend that way.
Already, Holder, if you go to lpl.qq.com right now, he's one of the top 10 players in strength on their website. I believe he's at number 9.
Well, he's only played 2 games.
Which
so
is
if you have
quite
good
impressive.
Games,
yeah, 2 very good games. And now you add the Camille into that, in which he didn't die, and a game 4 with another Camille, might be looking to go up even more, as that Photoshop picture of SMLZ gets me every time.
The 2 cats are the metaphor between the relationship of Doinb and SMLZ. The white cat on the right, who never smiles and looks like he's dead inside, is the SMLZ cat.
So again, to update you folks at home, we did have a disconnect bug with one of the players to load into the game. That's pretty important to make sure all the players are actually in the
we don't want to
matchup to play
5v4.
it. Yeah. So we're going to look into that and hopefully get that game started as quick as possible. That might require another champion select to get everyone in, remake the lobby, that sort of thing. But to get back to this matchup, Snake, they are chasing their playoff spot. If they don't make playoffs, is this an upset for the team considering their early split performance?
You have to say it would be a massive upset for TOP. Because they are the real winners. Snake was a playoff contender in Spring Split as well, and the only big difference is that TOP is now one of the strongest teams in the Western Conference, and they've taken over Snake's spot.
Yeah, this is the team previously known as Dan Gaming that had the longest loss streak in LPL history. It was very long. But they were able to pull up out of it. They experimented with different rosters. They experimented with different players and combinations. And now they've got Korn. They're starting to find success. They're starting to actually grow and take wins through mechanical outplays. If Snake have to compete with a team like that, then perhaps Snake might have fallen a bit themselves.
Yeah, Snake they definitely haven't improved as much as we hoped they would. If you look at the LPL overall, most of the teams have had sizable improvements.
Why? Stop it. No more RNG chants when they're not playing. They're not here. Still, though, the fans, very passionate. Glad to hear that they're still supporting this team, as Snake was the first team to have their own stadium outside of Shanghai amongst the franchised teams. And that stadium has absolutely found a home in Chongqing.
I think a reason why they might not be doing as well in summer is that other teams are now getting familiar with their stadium. Previously, they would forget to bring coats.
Snake pick, yeah, in the winter.
They weren't accustomed to the 3-hour drive up to their stadium.
It's a long trek. I've been there. To the Chongqing Expo Center.
Yeah.
It's a long drive. Better bring some good reading material.
Just taking a look at the keystones here, the only thing to note is Light is going to go for the on-hit build like he usually does.
That one hurt. Holder hitting some good damage onto Flandre as he steps into lane. And yeah, as you were saying, we will be seeing some good on-hit with that Conquerors up top. Light, like you said, taking that down bottom. Fleet footwork out of SMLZ on Kaisa. Says to me that he wants to look for sustain in this lane. With his Soraka, it should be noted.
Yeah, that's one of SMLZ's specialties. He did start bringing the fleet footwork rather early on, even when it fell out of favor due to nerfs.
Oh, Kiwi with the early smite. Now, he is actually pinging towards top. Flandre's still here at level 2. This is a bit disrespectful from Flandre and could get him killed. The flash intercepts him. Flandre still has his own, though.
Yeah, not the
walks
best
it under
move.
the turret.
I really like what Flandre did there. He held on to his flash. He understood that if Kiwi tried to knock him out of mid-air, then he actually would have priority on the stun, and you did see him just knock him back.
Yes. Again, Gragas's hitbox is larger than his hurt box. SMLZ looks for some action bottom. Killua is the target. Flashes the Pillar of Filth, and SMLZ walks it back under the turret with a Void Seeker to escort Light on the way out.
No flash. Oh, well, there was one flash burnt by Killua, so that will open the door to repeat ganks coming in from Snake. But for Rogue Warriors, I feel like they're actually pretty happy just staying underneath their tower and picking up any CS they can. They are going for a very sustained, heavy build. Like we were just talking about, this is something that SMLZ really did start to bring back into the meta when everyone was taking Press the Attack or taking Lethal Temple. He was the first one on the Kaisa after the Fleet Footwork nerf to bring it back.
Look at this. Holder is looking for Guoguo. Flash Rune Prison. Guoguo with the cleanse. He gets slowed down and dies. First blood to Rogue Warriors. They collapse from 3 directions.
And you probably did anticipate Kiwi, but you forgot about Holder. And that's just the Korean synergy coming back in. Now, just to give everyone a brief introduction, Holder previously did play on ES Sharks back in Korea in their Challenger Series, known as KC. And now he's joined the team for quite a while. He's been on the roster starting, I believe, 2 months ago already.
Yes, as substitute behind Mouse, but only getting to make his debut about a week ago in Rogue Warriors' previous match. I believe it was last Wednesday that we saw him.
And from what we know, he definitely is a very heavy carry type of player. There's nothing much that Guoguo could have done there. Actually holds on to his flash once he sees the Camille coming in.
The real tragedy is that he decided to go Dark Seal Fairy Charm. Doesn't even have enough for a tier on the way back into lane, because I'm sure that's what he's feeling quite literally in that matchup against Doinby on the Rise.
He does have tears on his face.
Yes. Tragically, that's not going to do too much for him as SMLZ walks right on up to Light. SOFM walks down. Killua is again the target. That's the pillar, but this time there's no escape for Killua. SMLZ about to be devoured by Maestro, but Doinby teleports in to collapse. He heals himself up quite a bit, and Doinby will be kind enough to take that kill.
I really like what Snake did right there. They basically called a teleport bait, knowing that Rogue Warriors would try to step up and punish it. And that's why they got the kill off of Killua. Unfortunately for them, Doinby was already on the prowl. You can see how he's so unafraid of the Cassiopeia matchup. Lost no CS early on. It was able to influence other lanes earlier as well.
Oh, no. And this is just a camp in the mid lane. Guoguo, the moment he walks up for that cannon, not even till then. Doinby lands the Spell Flux. There's no cleanse, Rune Prison. But Kiwi's not able to get enough, and Guoguo walks back under the turret without flashing, escaping this time.
Really calm execution coming in from Guoguo, but question is, how many more times can he actually evade that? You can see Rogue Warrior's strategy is very much about shutting down Guoguo. They can bring Camille to the mid lane anytime they want, and they can bring Kiwi as well. So without the cleanse, he's actually just a sitting duck there.
There's still so much opportunity to gank that lane for Kiwi. Holder still has the teleport. Now he's level 6 with Hextech Ultimatum if he decides to roam again. This is a big wave, though. Flandre with the body slam brings Holder low.
Yeah, really good trading coming out from Flandre. You can see that he's in that matchup, the Camille can't really use the tactical sweep earlier on, or it will just be blocked out by Flandre's E. So Holder's having to walk up to Flandre to really trade with him. It's probably going to have to go with the Q trade. And in fact, we do see the E max coming in from Camille.
Look at this. Kiwi and the rest of Rogue Warriors are tracking the vision on SOFM so effectively that they're able to allow this. Now, they will collapse onto Kiwi as he goes way too far for the Scuttle Crab and dies.
There's no reason why Kiwi should have used his abilities on the Scuttle Crab. I know you wanted the armor reduction, but in front of Snake, that was disrespectful. That was real disrespectful.
SOFM was level 5 to level 4, and they do now have vision on the bottom side, but SOFM has red buff. And on this Trundle, he does have that Tiamat. Might not be the tank Trundle that we've seen so many times from Snake. Might be the carry.
I think against this matchup, he can afford to do that. Like, he's not that far behind. And this is one of those matchups where your clear speed is much better than the Jarvan. If you go with the Tiamat, of course.
Yeah, it's absolutely paying off because SOFM is all over the map right now.
Yeah, the main decision you have to make is, do you need survivability now? If you do need it, then a lot of times Cinderhawk is actually just better. If you're a Trundle with Tiamat running at people, you really don't have that much HP. You're actually incredibly easy to kill. So in game 1, where he was going up against the Fed Akali, he did go for the Cinderhawk, But in game 2, I feel like clear speed's more important. You don't have someone that's going to instantly burst you down. So going for the Tiamat makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't have to worry quite so much about somebody finding him and assassinating him, though there is still a little bit of threat. SMLZ only double longsword, along with a Doran's ring start for mana sustain. It's a bit interesting for that Kaisa build. I'm curious to see if he decides to go towards AP after the Stormrazor Gwinsu's, or if he sticks to full crit, as there is a bit of choice in those Kaisa builds in the top lane. Still no recall from Holder. He's finally making his way back out of base. Let's see if Flandre lets him. Oh, the cask as she was spinning up into the air. Holder gets denied. He's got teleport though, so we shouldn't miss too many minions.
Yeah, just trying to maximize the value on his ultimate and try to deny minions. So in this matchup, Flandre actually doesn't really need to use the ultimate that much. People say you could use the ultimate to try to knock the Camille out of the Hextech ultimatum.
Whoa, flash engage. Killua forced to use that wish onto himself. SMLZ, he's still stepping up though. Has got the killer instinct. Plasma landed on both. Looking for the hit. Goes all in on the 2. Forces flash back from light. SOFM is racing down along with Kiwi. Maestro steps up. But SMLZ walks it back once he sees SOFM in Tribush.
Yeah, it was almost in Devour range from the Tom Catch. Did have to go back a little bit. The Rise
collapsing. Yeah, Kiwi is forced to back away from this one. Rune Prison as Maestro gets the Devour.
Good save on Maestro's part. The Rogue Warriors actually expend quite a lot in that fight. They take the ultimate, and both Summers use on Killua as well. We could see that Snake probably just started a very simple ultimate, exactly like I predicted. Straight into the follow-up of Maestro. Gets Devour down once he's out of the Equinox. And really no chance for the Soraka to survive that combination.
And that's just not respecting the level 6 rush out of Light and Maestro. The level 6 tick immediate Chains of Corruption. Flames of Corruption would be cool. Oh man.
That's something you probably put in a chat.
Flames of Corruption. Or that would be like a very edgy tagline. Like, my name is XXDom42XX. The Flames of Corruption.
You're taking me back to my teenage years.
Yeah, I know. Exclamation mark 1-1. They're diving onto Flandre right now. Here comes
Maestro, though.
He's dropping his own exclamation mark as Holder flashes out of this one. Guo walks up and no, Holder didn't place a ward. Face checks into the Petrifying Gaze. Uses Hextech Ultimatum to try and buy some time. Looks to get over the wall and has a lot of burst damage, but not enough to kill Guo. Kiwi's on the bottom. He's on top of another ward. He does actually have the Cataclysm. Hops back in and out. There's the Equinox. There's the snare. Flash from SOFM to chase it down as Killua and SMLZ find themselves a kill. But it's 1 for 2, I believe, across the map.
So the bot lane trade was massively in favor of Rogue Warriors. They now can deny minions and just hit on the tower. But in terms of the top lane trade, it played out a little bit weird. I felt like Camille could have gone over the wall into Baron Pit rather than stay and try to stun Guo. So the interactions there, I feel like there was probably a little bit of mechanical mistakes happening in the top lane. But it was a very good save on Maestro. Maestro really helping both sides of the map to snowball their lead.
And that should enable quite a bit for Snake if they decide to continue to play towards that top side. Knowing that the ultimatum is down, there is no flash, there is no teleport. Plus, we're seeing Maestro and Light constantly pushing in against SMLZ and Killua. Now, off of this recall, SMLZ finished the Stormrazors and picked up the pickaxe, even going so far as to sell the Doran's ring to complete this item stage, which should get him Acathian Rain once he ticks over to level 9. I believe that's the 80 threshold to get the 12 missiles instead of the 6.
Yeah, I just forgot about how much damage
the Cull provides
does.
80 as well. So with the Cull, he's actually got enough.
Okay. Not a big Kaisa player myself, but I will trust in your expertise, Dom. Yeah, it does look like it. Definitely does look like 12 shots.
That's the trade damage. Landing the Stormrazor's auto, and then following it up with another Acathian Rain. Even the Killer Instinct, as SMLZ just walks in, forces stopwatch out of Maestro. He's got no flash, he's got no chance. Doinby finds the kill, while Light walks it out under the turret. Meanwhile, Snake, they're trying to trade in the mid lane. They've pushed up to try and race this down, but it's 4 members against 2. And Holder is thinking about defending mid. It's getting down to the last second, but Rogue Warriors get that first brick before Snake.
Yeah, it did look like they had the advantage with the extra minion wave and Holder potentially being able to defend as well.
Snaker now turning towards the Rift Herald to take an additional prize to that mid-tier 1. As Doinby has set up a trap to try and bait light forwards. The remaining members of Rogue Warriors finish off the Ocean Dragon. Next one will be a second Ocean.
So this is a pretty interesting trade for Rogue Warriors because typically we do value the mid lane tower a bit heavily. What Rogue Warriors are doing is that they accelerated their gold gain, but they did give up on potential map control. Now, the way they can actually fold this back into their favor is if SMLZ can use a Killer Instinct and get good roams off. And I believe that's what they're going to be trying to do. They're going to try to fold the bot lane into the solo lanes. And both of these solo lanes have tremendous CC. It's very easy to have a Rune Prison lockdown or have a stun coming in from Camille and then just have SMLZ fly in. So they're happy for squeezing the map a little bit, giving up a little bit of map control if they can center their play around 2 lanes.
Plus, if you compare who they unlock, SMLZ versus Guoguo on a Cassiopeia with no boots, one of those is a lot scarier than the other, as we can clearly see SMLZ pushing Flandre back. Now, Snake are going to try to capitalize on this by collapsing onto Holder. He's backed up so far away from that turret. I'm not sure if he was able to see that play coming with a ward in the jungle that might have just expired. As now with the cask on the minion wave, Flandre is able to deny this push from Rogue Warriors in the top lane. Bottom tier 1's already gone down. And SOFM still sitting on that Herald. He's going to use it.
Yeah, it's going to be a 1-for-2 trade. Great play by Flandre into the top lane. Instantly clears out the wave. And you can see Rogue Warriors are forced to commit 3 people to the top lane in a losing trade.
Still, Herald might even be able to get a charge onto the bottom inhibitor turret. Doinby has to recall and race down and defend. As finally the top tier 1 goes down. But that's already 2 for 1. And the second charge goes off for big damage onto the inhib turret.
This is a pretty big gambit coming out from Rogue Warriors. They're willing to give over gold, map control, and gold to Snake just for opening up the map. And that's a gambit I'm not sure that they can actually make work. What they're looking for is they now have a lot of space to actually make picks. So before these waves start really hammering on the towers is when they can strike Snake. And they really have to make this happen for this trade to actually be okay-ish.
They've got themselves teleport ready for Holder. Killua has got plenty of wards. Taking a look at the gold, it's still a 300 gold lead for SMLZ. In the mid lane, 500 for Doinby. In the top lane, 200 gold advantage actually for Flandre. But in the jungle, SOFM is 1,500 gold ahead of Kiwi by picking up those kills.
Yeah, I felt like Kiwi had several questionable plays across the map, actually. The first death in the bot lane was probably unnecessary for the...
Ooh, Cataclysm from out of the dark. The knock-up on the top of this. Even Doinby's trying to get in there with the Realm Warp. Maestro with the Devour, but SMLZ follows. Eats a Chains of Corruption, but already has found himself the kill onto Maestro.
And this is what we were talking about, exactly. It's if you open up the map, then there's more room for you to... there's more time for you to actually group up before you have to go back and catch the minion waves. And this is the gambit that Rogue Warriors are willing to make because it suits their style. The way they like to play is group up in 5v5 and run a freight train directly through your composition, not let you turtle towards the late game. And so far, it looks like it's working out in their favor.
5 kills to 5, down about 1,100 gold, but there's still 1 turret in the mid lane that they could take that would equalize that. Doinby is thinking about heading towards the bottom lane. Doesn't have Realm Warp, but he does have Water Walking. I don't know if he's been spotted out by Flandre, who's just playing defensive in that bottom lane instead. But still 17 minutes into the game, Rogue Warriors are trying to open this up. Down now 1,500 gold through the waves that are crashing in. And this is buying time for Snake to scale up. We're at 1 item on the Cassiopeia, 1.5 on that Varus as he's looking for 2. And that can get Snake to those risky 5v5s that they do favor.
And the question for Snake right now is, what do they actually do with the map open? Do they really want to set up for the sieges? Because I feel like that's actually a very dangerous proposition for them as well. Rogue Warriors team composition, they can come in from a lot of angles. They're not really afraid of fighting you head on. So, sure, they've taken down the first outer tower, but I'm not sure they're going to want to push that far deeper. They're probably going to stall the game out from now on.
Not a massive incentive for them to try to break their game open just yet. In about 90 seconds, that next Ocean Dragon is going to spawn. That Snake would want to try to contest to deny an inevitable Elder and sustain during the remainder of the landing phase. But shortly after that, Baron is going to spawn. And the risk of losing a fight against a team like Rogue Warriors once Baron is on the map is way too big. Though Snake could try to make a play themselves if they decided to look for it. Chains of Corruption is a great way to set that up. Flandre, if he groups up with his team, could be a good opportunity. But it looks like right now Snake are trying to set up for this Ocean Dragon. Oh, was that a misclick?
I don't think it matters that much because the cooldown is refunded if you don't actually finish your Abyssal Voyage.
Cancels out of it and is able to get that cooldown right back, but already Rogue Warriors are starting to look towards the pit and contest this early vision from Snake. They got here first. Will they be able to keep themselves safe as Flandre is making his way out of base with a fresh buy? Boots 2 and Glacial, that Glacial Shroud completed.
You can see how tense it is for Light actually crossing the river. A lot of pings going his way just to tell him that it's okay. There's 4 people in mid. You're going to be fine here.
Ooh, that pillar puts SMLZ on the wrong side. SOFM's not able to pull him in. Doimby on his way out of base with a finished Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Snake turn onto the Dragon. Flandre looking for a flank, has been spotted by the sweeper. Realm Warp sends Doimby in. Flash Cataclysm onto 3. He's knocked out of it as SMLZ goes into the back. He's found SOFM, but a stopwatch stalls out that early damage. Subjugate already used, but they're happy to take this kill onto the jungler of Snake.
It's a good trade for Rogue Warriors. I don't think the Ocean Drake actually does much for Snake, but the way Snake played it was also fairly decent. They understood that they probably didn't want to take the full 5-on-5, so instantly went for the disengage option with the casket. You could see Flandre's positioning on the flanks was pretty much, I'm not going to tank and fight this out front to back. I'm actually just going to try and disengage it with my ultimate.
And that's what we saw. The moment that Jarvan used Cataclysm onto Guogol and Light, who were stacked up, it should be noted, immediate Cataclysm to get that Jarvan out of there and prevent any follow-up knockups or even damage on those carries, forcing SMLZ to go instead into the backline on SOFM, only finding the 1 kill as opposed to what could have been many more.
It was a shutdown for 600 gold onto the Kai'Sa from SMLZ, but you know that's an okay price to pay for both teams. So I really like these matches when you can see both of the teams are sort of playing on similar lines. Snake knows that they probably don't want the straight up 5v5, but are still willing to put a little bit of risk and try to go for the Ocean Drake. On the meanwhile, Rogue Warriors know, okay, we've been disengaged on the left side. Let's just go for the shutdown gold on Trundle. That's fine. We don't need more here. Not
quite enough combat stats to really turn against Rogue Warriors yet, needing some more time to scale up. As we do have a brief pause, looks like we're getting back into this. Whatever the issue was has been resolved as 20 minutes in, the Baron has now spawned, and Rogue Warriors could look to try and break this game open a bit more. Interestingly enough, we do have a Zeal next from SMLZ, not the recurve bow, so he's not going straight for the Gwynsu's completion. Instead, just using the pickaxe to get him over the mantle for Acathian Rain completion, and eventually could save onto that pickaxe to look for an Infinity Edge later on, so that we could be seeing a big damage crit Kai'Sa.
Yeah, which is very interesting from SMLZ. He is known for playing these different type of compositions, and I understand one of the things he does think about is the damage balance between him and Doimby. So if Doimby does go for an AP heavy build, he will typically go for an AD heavy build to kind of compensate for that. And we do see the Hurricane being picked up.
Yeah. There it is. Triple bolts, crits on all of them, and true damage once he finishes off that Infinity Edge, if that's the direction that he does decide to go with that pickaxe. But already it's looking like that crit Kai'Sa for some big hits. But now the Baron has spawned. Holder does not have teleport and is splitting in the bottom lane, whereas Flandre does and is heading down to answer him. Snake are using the early turret advantage to step forward and try to compete for vision. But Rogue Warriors are just playing the minion waves and forcing Snake to pull back.
I really like the Hurricane build when you're going up against triple frontline from Snake. Flandre, SOFM, and Maestro will mostly be playing in range of the Kai'Sa. do think it's a decent idea to get maximum plasma stacks as
There's
well.
the Equinox. Light is stepping up real aggressive as SMLZ is able to bait out the ultimate and then even sidestep out of it with the adrenaline rush.
I'm not sure what the thought process there was, but it would have been pretty safe for SMLZ anyway. He does still have Quicksilver Sash. So even if the ultimate landed, I think he could have gotten out of it fairly easy.
And look at that. They keep on stepping up to try and bait SMLZ, but he stands his ground. He's the kind of guy who does not back down. When you walk up to threaten an ability, he says, use it. I'll dodge it. And even if I don't, I've got QSS. He's not afraid of you or the threat that you and your team provide. Holder actually uses the Hextech Ultimatum. Flandre still has the cask. Void Seeker misses. Now, he's still in range. If Holder goes in with a hook shot, then Killer Instinct can be activated, but Holder decides not to risk that body slam burst out of Flandre.
And that's one of the advantages about Kai'Sa in a 1-3-1 composition. She has tremendous ability to actually follow up with your side lane fights. That Void Seeker, the proc, it's I believe it's over 3,000 distance. So you can very easily follow from your own red buff all the way into the side lanes.
Yeah, it's the current range of whatever your Killer Instinct is for how far the plasma applies.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he's actually able to get behind this. SMLZ, that's a flash cleanse. Flandre is so tanky right now. Double armor item. SMLZ even procs the plasma, but barely does about 700, 800 damage worth as Flandre finds the flash engage and forces out SMLZ's flash on his own, seeing Doinby on the other side of the map. But that's Snake taking the initiative against Rogue Warriors and perhaps trying to remind them, hey, we're not out of this game. We're just waiting for our item completions.
It's pretty interesting, but I believe what happened right there was that SMLZ actually wasn't knocked back by the casket. And that's why Snake didn't go all in onto it. They were still sitting on chains of corruptions. They were probably waiting for a knockback on SMLZ so they could follow up the CC. But once they saw that the opportunity passed, they weren't going to stick around. So it was a very measured play coming in from both sides. They're not throwing all of their abilities at once. They're kind of waiting for the layering to come out and try to see if they can get the perfect engage scenario.
Ooh, Doinby, he's actually teleporting in. Whoa, 1 versus 3, but Holder collapses as well. Maestro is caught out. No ultimatum just yet, as Holder eats himself a snare and Doinby is free-firing. Flandre taking some hits. He's got a lot of armor, but not a lot of magic resist. Doinby forces out the stopwatch. Miasma, he's able to shield and walk it back. Flashes away. Kuogo gets the slow. Poison ticket shut down. Doinby is dead. SMLZ with Snow Summoner spells is slowed down so much. Pinned against the wall. He dies as Snake find themselves 2 kills against Rogue Warriors carries.
And that was such a great pillar at the end there. Probably will secure Snake their first dragon. It's going to be so hard walking it face forward into this Baron pit. I have to say, Rogue Warriors, they just didn't have the patience to wait it out for a while. They felt like the action was in the lull. They didn't want Snake to continue to scale up and play this kind of Baron defense composition, so they went all in for it.
Oh, and Kiwi, he's healed up, but only barely. He's got Flash and Smite, but looks instead for Flandre. That's the guy who's tanky. That's the guy who can soak so much. Baron is finished off. Flandre walks away. Light flashes over the wall and picks himself up a double. As Killua dies, that's a triple SOFM. Dropping the thumbs up to remind Rogue Warriors who's boss.
So I don't know who's shot calling on Rogue Warriors right now, but those few plays were very, very questionable at the end here. Now, let's take it from the start. Doinby goes in with his ultimate to try and catch out Maestro and Light, but good play by Maestro, is able to disengage, and Cassiopeia comes in at exactly the right time. Of course, he does miss the casket, strangely enough. Didn't look like it missed, but Gogo is able to finish off, and watch this beautiful pillar coming out from SOFM. It blocks SMLZ, doesn't allow him to pass, but gives him the false hope that he sees a glimmer of sunlight past the wall.
It wasn't sunlight, Clement.
It was the heavens coming for him.
It was. The god of death, PYL himself. Reminds SMLZ what it is to have a sepia-toned screen as the 3rd Ocean Dragon of the game, the 2nd for Snake, now picked up, but they've got Baron for 2 minutes and 20. And they're starting to try and open up this map. 3,300 gold ahead. Flandre's up top with without teleport, but ready to push that wave in.
So we talked about Snake's composition being more defensive in nature. They defend the red side ramps really well. But after they get the Baron, they're actually a very decent sieging team as well. It's very hard for Rogue Warriors to simply walk up into their composition. And what we're going to have to check on for the next couple of minutes are those flanking positions. Can Camille come in at a good angle? Can Jarvan lock down the back line before coming out again? Those are going to be the big questions to breaking the Snake siege.
We've got some big item completions that could affect that as well. Golglo's finished off his Void Staff. Guardian Angel on light, as y'all can see from that glowing white circle around him. Doinby, he's finished off the Abyssal Mask next. Nice and tanky on that Rise, plus Realm Warp to maneuver him around the map. But SMLZ with his Infinity Edge, he's the primary source of damage against a really tanky Flandre with Gargoyle's Stoneplate. This is Snake actually making it to that mid to late game. 27 minutes in. They've still got the Baron for 70 seconds. Haven't been able to do too much with it.
He has 287 armor at this point.
He's very big.
So he is reading the builds correctly. Then, you know, hey, 80 damage from Kiwi. Lots of 80 damage from SMLZ.
Even Holder with that Triforce Ravenous Hydra. But here comes the wave. Crashing in. Snake just walking forwards. Rogue Warriors, they remember what happened last time they fought. And while Rogue Warriors can scale up and fight on their own, that means that currently they can't quite match Snake as they walk up to the inhib turret, riding the minion wave in. Holders behind them.
He's waiting for a good time to actually pop the blasting
Chains of Corruption onto Doinby. He soaks the entire duration. Kiwi goes in with the Cataclysm. Holder still looking for an opportunity, but SOFM is zoning him away. Maestro gets caught, slared, and snowed, but still survives. And somehow Snake are allowed to walk away.
Yeah, really good zoning coming out from SOFM. His first instinct was to chase Camille out of the battlefield. And for Gogo as well, with the Miasma, he was able to allow Maestro to basically walk out scot-free as well. Now, Rogue Warriors, they did get a lot of free damage onto the front line, and you could have questioned, hey, maybe Snake could have pushed a little bit further, because they did land the Chains of Corruption onto Rise. They did have the tower down, but they're playing it incredibly safe.
They are. They don't want to take any risks to lose this game because, again, this would be an upset if Snake take even a single game win in this series. Rogue Warriors are locked into semifinals, whereas Rogue Warriors are just trying to fight for playoffs.
Yeah, well, Snake are just trying to fight for playoffs.
Yeah. And now at the 29-minute mark, it's a 5,000 gold lead. Snake have got a clear highway down that mid lane all the way to the inhibitor if they ever get the chance to walk that far forward. Because the next dragon is an Infernal, another reason to fight for these teams, and then the Baron will be respawning shortly thereafter.
I actually don't think Snake has dragged out the gold lead quite to their liking. 5k, no inhibs down. They're not really a team that can match, that can overpower the wave clear coming out from Rogue Warrior. So I do expect a very quiet couple of minutes and for the game to heat up once more once we have the Baron buff.
Those pillars just forcing SMLZ to be scared. For now, it's Snake just controlling the map, trying to set up vision and set up for the inevitable next play, whereas Rogue Warriors are doing everything in their power to stop that and stymie that. Doinby pushes a wave all the way to the top. He's level 17, walks up to Flandre and breaks through his shield. Doesn't quite have the Void Staff just yet, so Flandre is able to take a few hits. Body slam against the minion. That's the Abyssal Voyage. Realm Warp from Doinby, but no, he gets knocked out of it from the cask. He's going 1 versus 3 right now. Uses the shield. Snare lands onto life, but he dies as he's baited into the one-on-one and pays the ultimate price.
And this is the second time that we've seen Doinby pull off a questionable Realm Warp. The first time into the mid lane, he didn't really have information about whether the other team members were. And this time, once more, walking into the Gragas, when the Gragas was already clearly trying to be the aggressor at this point, staying around for a solo duel and just being caught out. It's a very weird thing to see from Doinby, because Doinby's typically a pretty chill type of player.
Generally. Just not quite in this game. Perhaps trying a little bit too hard to open this matchup. As Snake looking now for the top tier 2. Holder is pushing back against Flandre, who is still soaking pressure in that bottom lane. Doinby's up in 8 seconds. But the top tier 2 is already broken, and Snake back away. They don't overextend or risk it. Holder tries to walk up for some damage onto the turret, but Flandre is so massive up here. All he's been doing is farming and absorbing pressure.
I love the way he builds, basically going full tank onto the Gragas. He knows he's just there for pretty much the front line and disengage potential. And we have a very interesting scenario coming on. We have the Baron and the Infernal Drake only 1 second apart from each other. So there could be some sneaky plays here. Usually the person that baits the entire team to be on the top side, well, they have their own jungler in the bot side, or a member that can solo the Infernal Drake, does come out ahead of these scenarios.
With some final recalls, Light makes his way back into base. He's got himself a Zeal pickaxe, and now the Infinity Edge. 6-1-4 on a very big Varus. And Rogue Warriors, they're sitting on top of the Baron as it spawns. A red trinket spawns, sees this. A Snake rush towards the pit. They've got some pretty big shred on the Kai'Sa, but decide not to risk it. Those plasma stacks, not quite fast enough when you're going full crit damage.
So I feel like this does give Snake the potential to push around Rogue Warriors on the map. If you have a stronger front, you can basically force them to the edges and then head back to your own Infernal Drake. But instead, Rogue Warriors are actually out-rotating. They sunk themselves out from the top side of the map and are pulling off the single-man Infernal Drake that guy was talking about. Usually, the way the play works is that if you can bait the entire team to be on the Baron, then you profit by just taking the Infernal uncontested.
Kiwi's not been spotted, but I don't think he saw them step into the Baron pit either. That's a Realm Warp to try and spot that out. Dragon is taken, but it's already way too late. Kiwi goes in, and Kiwi is not able to get the steal. Baron picked up as he dies. I believe that he did spot that Realm Warp from Doinby, helping to provide vision. He's going to try to clear out this wave, but 33 minutes in, Snake with the second Baron for the next 3 minutes, and they've already broken their way all the way to that middle inhibitor.
I felt like Rogue Warriors definitely understood that the Baron was being taken, but the communication between the members was a bit weird. And you can see right now, Ryze is basically giving up the mid lane inhibitor. Of course, we did see him clear the wave out, clear the wave after him. So
already trying to stall it out, yeah. The middle inhibitor now taken. Flandre prepped top and is already recalled to set up bottom. This is Snake actually playing an intelligent macro game and dictating the pace of Rogue Warriors. Completely different to game one. They've got themselves late game scaling. They are moving in a unit that cannot be broken apart. And Rogue Warriors, without that clear engage, are having some trouble. But Doinby, he's in the back along with Holder. The wave crashes in. Light and Gwogwol are there. They step up into the minion wave. They've been spotted, but the turret's already broken. That's a teleport. Kiwi goes in. Stopwatch on top of the Equinox. He's got no flash. He's got no chance. He has died already. A cast separates Killua from SMLZ. Killua eats a huge shot and is knocked out of the piercing arrow, but survives. Doinby and Holder and SMLZ, 3 versus 5. Can they break it apart? Doinby tries to outplay this. SMLZ kiting as best he can. Still has flash, but has to walk away from Flandre because he does nothing.
So you can see Rogue Warrior members are trying to just cut out the minion waves. They know they can't fight head-on anymore.
Snaker's still pushing up. They've got one minion, and SMLZ can't walk up to a teleport, but they're already walking forward to break down the turret. Doinby completes the teleport, lands the AoE snare, but it's down to the Nexus itself. SMLZ is destroyed. Snaker turning onto the Nexus, and they're chasing it down. They're able to break it, and Snake equalize the series and bring us to game 3.
And Snake looking after their playoff berth. They want to finish things now. They want that game lead over Rogue Warriors today. They want that 1 point advantage over FPX. And I have to say, this game, Rogue Warriors really did hand it over to their opponents. 2 crucial mistakes coming out from Doinby to give over the map tempo. And the last one where I actually felt like they had a good read on the situation.